Alright, so if you've been following my channel for a while this year, you've probably noticed I've grown a lot of tomatoes, a ton of different varieties. I don't like just to grow one variety of tomato. I'm going to show you my opinion of the different varieties that I've grown this year, and I highly encourage you grow heirloom tomatoes. Someone here locally, a very prominent known gardening person here in the North Texas area and even in Texas, highly discouraged people on their Facebook page to not grow heirloom tomatoes. I couldn't understand it. It's quite amazing why you would discourage someone from growing heirloom tomatoes. I won't name their name, but heirloom, yes, they will make fewer tomatoes on the plant maybe, but you will have a much nicer, higher quality, tastier tomato once it's done. If you've gone to the high-end grocery stores and maybe bought a heirloom tomato, you will understand why they are so pricey, because one, there's fewer tomatoes on the plants, as well as it takes much longer for the tomato to ripen on the vine, etc. So grow heirloom tomatoes. I do have a few hybrid tomatoes I also grow this year. I grow all kinds of tomatoes, hybrid and heirloom tomatoes. So I'm going to show you my opinions on the different varieties that I've grown this year, and just give you my opinion on how they went this year in our vegetable garden. Alright, so I'm sitting out here in the shade. It's quite warm out here this afternoon. But as you can see, I just picked all these tomatoes out of our garden. We've had a ton of tomatoes. Done quite well this year. We can't complain. So here's what they look like. Now this tomato here, this is a Brandywine tomato. I really like this heirloom tomato. It's very tasty. Highly recommend you growing this tomato. I didn't get that many, probably a couple dozen tomatoes from that plant. And then if we keep on coming along, all these smaller type tomatoes, this is probably one of my favorites. This is a grape tomato, a little different than the Sweet 100 or a cherry tomato. The grape variety is probably one of my favorite smaller tomatoes. These yellow pear are not my favorite. Any of the yellow tomatoes really don't have a lot of flavor. Very mild tomato flavor, and but I do like them to add them into color, a variety of color and different things that we make with them. Like I said, these yellow and orange type tomatoes are much more bland flavor, mild, and less tasty in my opinion. But I do like to grow them for the color and variation of that. And this is another variety. I don't remember what kind this one was. I think this one here was an orange blossom tomato. Then of course over here, these are the this is the green zebra. As you can see, I let it on the plant too long and it started to split. These green zebra tomatoes are actually quite challenging to know when they are ripe or ready to eat, because they are green, and in any case, they, as you can see here, this one is ready. It's got a little give to it. It starts to turn a little bit yellowish color, so that one is actually ready to slice open and eat. Another variety of tomato here. This one, I can't remember the variety on, but it's actually a little bit hollow inside in this tomato when you cut it in half. So most of these tomatoes are red variety tomatoes. There's quite a few. I'm not sure which one is which. All the red tomatoes do quite well for us, and they're very tasty. So there's a few varieties on the tomatoes. Now let me find a few here. This one I talked about earlier in the season. This is the very sweet tomato that I really like. All of our tomato we actually bought from plants this year at the local nurseries. We went to several different nurseries throughout the Dallas area. Now one tomato I will say I was a little disappointed in is these ones here. This is the Black Prince tomato. This made a very large amount of tomatoes on this tomato plant, Black Prince. But a major problem I had with this tomato is, turn it around here, they almost all split open. None of our other tomatoes really had that problem with this year, except a few that I left on the vine way too long. But this Black Prince was very easily to split the tomato. So there's just a few of my tomato varieties that we grow. This one here is the Cherokee Purple, another one of my favorite tomatoes to grow. Cherokee Purple and the Brandy Wine here. So grow some heirlooms, grow a variety of tomatoes and see what you like. Some will be more successful than others. This variety here, this is the Juliet tomato, came off of the grafted tomato. The grafted Juliet tomato did quite well. It still has a ton of tomatoes on the vine, but in my opinion, the grafted tomatoes, after trying them out this year, and this is the only year I'll ever grow a grafted tomato. We had 3 different grafted tomatoes. We had the Juliet, which is a smaller type tomato, so obviously it's going to produce more anyways. Any of these smaller type tomatoes produce quite well. And then I had a grafted Cherokee Purple. Did not do any better than the standard Cherokee Purple tomato. And I think the Cherokee Purple tomato, the grafted ones, were about $7 a plant. It's quite outrageous versus the about $1.50 I paid for the rest of these tomato plants. So grafted tomatoes, in my opinion, we're going to steer clear of, just mainly because of the price, and didn't really do any better than our other variety tomatoes, in my opinion. So there is a quick look at some of the different varieties of tomatoes that we did grow this year. And as you can see here, this is our wild forest of tomato plants. So hopefully you'll find this helpful, and when you're choosing tomatoes, maybe try a few of these varieties of tomatoes in your garden next year. But I highly recommend you try a variety of tomatoes. Now, if you want to be more successful in your growing of tomatoes, grow varieties that they recommend growing. Of course, I grow everything else and some of the recommended varieties as well, and we have very good success growing tomatoes. So thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Here's just a quick look at some of our tomatoes and my opinion on them. So happy growing.